Hey guys, Coach Logan here again. This time I wanted to do some more puzzles, so let's get started. We're in ChessKid here. Okay, so what's going on here? We're down some material, but we're gonna try to mate them. If, let's see, I'm thinking about playing, just taking their bishop, and then we're threatening queen to e8 check, which is going to lead to mate. The question is, can they stop us from that? So bishop f6, they have queen e6, which is annoying. Good start with queen e8 check, but then the problem is they have king g7, which defends their bishop. Oh, no, it doesn't, because we have queen coming back to e5. Okay, so I see it now. All right, so yeah, we're going to start with queen e8 check. All right, well, I wish they'd gone king g7, because that would have highlighted the point better. But the point was if they go king g7, bishop takes f6, king takes f6, and then queen e5 is mate. Okay, now I just think we play bishop takes f6, and it's all over but the crying. Okay, well, they're going to give us a piece, so we're winning now. All right, let's take a look at this one. Okay, it would be great if we could play rook c8 mate, but we're in check right now, so we can't do that. So what to do? Well, the thing is we don't actually have too many moves because we're in check. We have king h6 and king f7. Which one is better? I'm leaning towards king h6 because we're threatening mate on c8. What can they do if we do that? They could play rook to b8 to cover the mate. How good is that really, though? No, that's not working for them. All right, so let's go king h6. Oh wow, they went rook to g5. Again, I wish they would do the trickiest defense. Although this one does have a trick. If I play king takes g5, then they have knight takes e6 with a fork on my king and my rook. So I don't think that's what I want to do. I think instead, note that also rook c8 they can block with the rook, but I think instead what I wanted was rook h7 check, and then there's this little combination. This is a common endgame motif, but the rook checks the king onto this g8 square. Now you push the pawn, and then when they play king to f8, you play rook to h8 with check, forcing the king away, and then you promote the pawn defended by your rook. Okay, not too bad. So how about this one? Again, yeah, I see my queen near their king, so this feels like we're mating them somehow. I think we're looking to play knight takes g3 at some point. Knight takes g3 check, h takes g3. Then if we play h4, we're threatening h takes g3 with a mate shortly to follow. So they might have to play at that point, I don't know, g4, but then we play h3. If we can't open the file, I'm not loving that as much, actually. Maybe we start with h4? h4, then if they play g4, then we play knight g3, and they have to take us and the file opens. So the only question is if we play h4, do they have other options? They have a check on b7 with the queen, but I don't think it's too great. We just play rook to d7. Then they have queen b4 check, king f7. We're still threatening h takes g3 in all those lines, and then I think they'll have to deal with that. Yeah, I'm going to put it on the board. I'm pretty sure it's h4, yeah. Okay, they took. Well, now my instinct is to grab that pawn with the rook, threatening knight to g3. Yeah, that's got to be it. Okay, rook to f3. Is that working for you? Knight to g3 check, rook takes g3, queen takes g3. I'm threatening mate on h2. I'm up in exchange. Yeah, that should do it. Okay, all right. I mean, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't blundering any nasty checks, but I think that one was pretty straightforward. Okay, so we got an endgame here. We've got connected passers versus white having an extra piece, but connected passers are really, really good, especially in the endgame. All right, so the most natural move is to just play c3. Then they have, how do they stop those pawns? They have a check. They have knight to b3 check. We can play king. Then it becomes a question: do we want our king to be more active, or do we want our king to be further away from their knight? So, like for instance, if we were to play king d5, then we don't have to worry about any knight checks for a while. But maybe then if they just move the knight, then their rook gets active. So if knight b3, okay, then king c4. Then they actually don't have a knight check because we got a5 and d2 covered pretty well. I think those pawns are just going through. Likewise, we also are threatening king b4 at that point, which will fork their rook and their knight. Yeah, it's got to be c3. It can't be anything else. Okay, so they just played king to e1. So I guess their point is if we take, the king takes, and they're threatening to take on d3, so that's a more reasonable defensive try. But I think this actually... no, I think we just need to activate the rook at the right spot. I was thinking rook to e8 check, because if they were to play king to d1, we have c2 check, king to c1, and then rook to e1 check, which is actually similar to that motif we saw in that other problem. But if we play rook e1, they can play knight e4. I'm less confident if they play knight e4. So then, could we just rush our pawn? Could we play c3 here? And then we're threatening to promote. They could play rook a1. Excuse me. Just trying to see this one through. This king e1 was not a move I actually really considered, and it seems to be a pretty resilient one. But no, there's something here. Keep thinking about rook e8 check some more. If rook e8 check... Actually, also rook to b8 is interesting. Rook to b8, because then I'm threatening... I mean, first of all, then if they move their knight, then we have rook to b1, which is actually mate. But then we're also threatening stuff like rook to b2 at some point, or taking first on d2 and then rook to b2. Yeah, kind of like rook to b8. I think I'm coming around to that. If they play knight b3, yeah, again, we can go king... c4. Alright, I think I like rook to b8. No! Okay, got that one wrong. Alright, let's see what the answer is here. c2, knight b3 check, okay. Huh, alright, I think the king is just super powerful once it breaks in there. c2. I was also a little bit concerned with rook a1 there. Alright, so I just want to go back on this one. Because I think the line, I did consider c2, so what I was worried about here was if we play c2, I was actually also considering that if they play rook a1, but I guess we just walk in with our king, okay? And then here, I mean, it's the same thing. We're what did they say? I think it was, yeah, king to c3, which is invading with the king, threatening stuff like king to b2. Yeah, the king is a fighting piece. This is the moral of this story, is the king is a fighting piece, and it's enough to win us. Okay. All right, that was a good one. Okay, how about this? So their king is clearly coming under fire. The question is just which sequence of checks is going to do him in. So queen d3 check feels the most natural. That would force them to play either f5 or king to f6. If they play f5, then we get rook takes e6 check in there. And I think that whole kind of house of cards falls. So I think it's queen d3 check, king to f6. And then we just need the kill shot in there somewhere. Rook f1 check. King e7. Are they able to survive that? No, I don't think so, because then we play rook takes f7 check, king takes f7, queen to d7 check, and then, but then they can go back to f6. I thought they would have to go g6 and we'd have queen takes e6 check, which would be mate. It's queen d3 check, king f6, rook f1 check, king e7. I find these geometry ones very difficult, where you have to like see all the possible lines that their king can run to in an open board, but I'm pretty sure it's queen to d3 check. Okay, and now, yeah, the move I was looking at was rook to f1, which would force king e7. Oh, wait. We actually, I didn't consider, we have rook f3 check. I had eliminated that because they can take us, but then when we take back with the queen, we're forking the king, queen, and the rook, the king and the rook. So rook f3 check, that forces, okay, I think that's a better version of what I was looking for, because then I keep this rook on the e file, and then, yeah, okay, so that works out better, actually. Okay, all right. Yeah, now we're just picking up the loose rook. Okay, I think I've got, I don't really have time for one more. Okay, all right, so this was good. We've got a couple of problems in there. I will keep trying to do this. I got one wrong on this one, kids, so it happens to all of us. All right, see you guys next time.